Coming up on Man Enough. Is this the one? You gonna spend your life with this girl?
Yes.
She know that?
Yes. Yeah.
Was there a moment, or was it like a slow build?
I think that I've had this goal as a kid since, I was driving around with my mom, listening to Alicia Keys and just hearing this love and hearing everything I need to really understand what I want to be when I'm older, with a family, with a wife, with kids. And when I look in my partner's eyes, I see that. I see my future.
Being man enough, what does that mean?
It's really manly to mess up, admit you're wrong, and then grow.
I couldn't accept that I was evil. So maybe I'm broken, but those broken things could be corrected.
Intimacy between a father and a son is me just wanting to put my head in your lap.
I love you, son.
You haven't called me benevolent sexist, but my experience is women are better.
Even if it's a positive, it's still not equality.
I don't blame men for that. I just blame the system.
This
is
Man Enough.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Man Enough podcast. You're here with Jamie Heath.
Liz Plank.
And Justin is not with us. I think, honestly, Liz, the audience is getting a bit more used to Justin not being here because he's been so busy that we've done several episodes without him.
We have,
We
but
miss
he's
him.
always here, right?
He just FaceTimed a little while ago.
He did?
Yeah, I'm sorry you
I missed it.
So he sends his love and hellos to everybody.
And his presence is felt, right?
It is.
No matter what.
He's not with us right now. Obviously, he's standing in solidarity with the strike, the SAG strike, as he's an actor. But we are here representing him in our spirit, maybe in our voices.
Always. I will try.
Hey, how you been?
I am good. I'm good.
That outfit right there.
Do you like it?
Come on now.
I was told it's giving kindergarten teacher energy, which I love. Which is that's my mood board.
That's it?
It's not Vogue. It's fun kindergarten teacher. If I give off that vibe, I'm so happy.
I don't know. You're too. Well, you might give off kindergarten teacher, but you're teaching kindergartners who are in college. Because you're super brilliant.
Or I'm learning from them. Kindergartners, we should do a show with kindergartners.
No,
we
thanks.
would learn
I got
so much. You do?
No,
they don't? Okay.
No, they're great, but no thanks.
Okay, got it.
I don't want them here.
Yeah.
I want them here. I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
I want my kids here, Liz.
Yes.
Why would you suggest
no,
such a thing?
I don't know. Yeah.
I love to miss them, though. Did I ever said that out loud before?
Yeah,
I love
that's
missing
sweet.
them.
It's fun to
I
miss
love them. I love when they're here,
anyone.
but when you miss them, that means they're asleep. And it's like, oh, I missed my kids, but that means you get alone time.
Yeah.
My wife might say it more than I do, but.
Are you going to golf? Are you still going to golf instead of helping her with the kids in the morning? Or we're doing a check-in?
Sorry.
How many
Is
months
that
has
being
it been?
cut? Jesus. Excuse me.
You
just
can
so the
call
record.
me out on my stuff. I don't know what I did I would do.
Okay.
I probably still
Hold
doing
on a second. I don't go to golf instead of help with the kids.
But you get up for golf and you make yourself do it.
But the conversation has been, there's mornings that I will get up at 5 a.m. to go golf.
Yes.
And yet there are times when I won't get up at 5 a.m. to help with the kids.
Right.
That's the point. Not that
And
I
has
don't help with the kids, just for clarity.
Sure.
Or do my part with the kids.
Sure. And so Tasha was here and asked you point blank to make an effort with this a couple months ago.
Yes,
How's it
indeed.
going?
We'll have to call her right now. We won't call her right now, but we'll call her after the podcast and we'll let her answer that so that my words aren't just words.
Okay.
No,
I
don't want to just say something.
But I like
no, it's not a
that.
deflection
I like
at all.
that.
I'm saying you can call her.
Yes.
But for the audience, yes, in fact, I, other than the fact that I've
you've
been in
been
New Jersey
away.
for the last 2.5 months
It's hard
filming.
to get up with the kids.
But yes, indeed.
You've been working, yes. Remote.
I just want to be clear because, when we did that podcast last time with her here, the narrative went to Jamie doesn't show up for his kids.
No.
And everything is, of course, that's like the 5% that comments, but the 5% have a big microphone.
Sure.
And that frames it. So I just want to be clear that I'm a present father.
Of course.
And, with my kids. But I can certainly be better at getting up in the morning, and that was that conversation.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's a conversation a lot of couples are having, and it was very vulnerable and brave for you two to have it on air.
Oof.
And then
I got a lot of darts. But hey, bring the darts. I don't mind darts.
Good.
Bring them.
Yes.
They sting sometimes, but that's all right.
Yeah, and that's better than I don't have a problem. I'm always, everything's great. Acknowledging the problem and that you're working through it. That's what being in a relationship is all about.
We just want to be better.
Yeah.
And speaking of being better, we have guests on our show sometimes.
We do.
Well, most of the time we have guests on our show.
And if you want to see our guests, you should check us out on YouTube.
Oh, is that where they can find us?
Yes, they can watch our faces. You talked about my dress so that they can see what fancy little number I have on. Kindergarten vibes I'm going for. And they can watch the full episodes.
Not just listen to it in all the places you can find podcasts.
Right.
But they can watch us.
Yeah.
Which is good because sometimes we have guests on that are worth looking at.
We have one today. I gotta say, he's not bad to look at.
Okay. I gotta agree with you on that one. Who is that person?
Jalen Noble.
Whoa.
Well, yeah.
Hello.
What up, Jalen?
What's up, guys?
So Jalen is a full-time content creator based in Nashville.
Yep.
You became very popular after you were on a season of Love Island. But actually, you gained a lot more popularity after when you went through, you were kind of seen as like maybe a player,
a bad boy
in the show, and you've been through a real transformation as a man that you're going to be sharing with us, and that's actually what got you a lot more of a following and sort of a loyal base of people who really support and love your work.
I would agree. That's spot on.
You're the perfect guest for us on Man Enough.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to start us off, we always ask our guests a question to start them off,
okay,
right? So that you can kind of put your head in the right frame.
Okay, it's like therapy. I like it.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah, free therapy.
So the question is, when's the last time that you didn't feel enough?
I think it was. That's a tough question. I think there's small glimpses throughout some days, where I feel low or I feel high. And, some days where I'm like, okay, I don't feel like enough. And I'd say that probably comes in waves, maybe once a week where I wake up one morning and I just don't have it. And I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not enough. But if we're talking about like the major idea of not being enough, I want to say that was kind of what started, this track that I'm on of healing, of, showing my self-love and, really being kind to myself. And through being kind to myself, I can be kind to others as well. I'd say that probably happened started this year, if not late last year. I kind of really had an epiphany in therapy and sitting with my therapist and really understanding that like I am doing enough. I was hard on myself for like a week or two straight, trying to do this content creation, trying to juggle a lot of feelings and emotions that ultimately led me to think and be in this rut of I am not enough. I am struggling in life. I am failing in life. And again, failure being subjective to how I view failure. But I would say that's probably the last time I didn't feel like I was enough was about 6 to 7 months ago before I really started taking the steps to, change or correct that thought process or behavior of a mindset.
What were those actions for people who are listening who are in that same rut?
Yeah, I think awareness is a big one. I think being able to be honest with yourself and really kind of talk about these feelings and emotions really helped change the narrative or way that I viewed myself. Yeah. So I think there are a lot of things that I'd hold on to. Mm-hmm. Things that, from my childhood and childhood trauma and all that good stuff, but all these things that I'd carry with me from my childhood or expectation that the outside society would put on somebody like a man that I had to carry. Mm-hmm. And I thought I wasn't living up to it. I'm 30 now, and I thought to myself a year ago, I was like, man, I'm just in the starting of my corporate sales career, like just kind of hating this job, going into a corporate office. I just felt myself every day kind of, I don't know, like a robot, kind of going through the motions. And I think taking the steps to, one, be open and honest with my therapist and just really uncover those things that I was still carrying with me, like an 800-pound gorilla.
And it seems like your, I always say journey for people who aren't watching. I'm doing air quotes.
Buzzwords.
Like your path, right, to transformation from being a man that society expected you to be, or how you maybe got those accolades, right? Again, being like, would you have called yourself like a womanizer or like, how would you describe sort of your that life before?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely viewed myself as. I'll say this: I feel like, as a man, in the mindset that I had and among my friends and just among what societal standards or society was pushing out was the more women that you had lust after you, the more women that you could, put yourself in front of and have, be desirable for, kind of define your status in this popularity contest at which is being a man. Like, oh, I can go out and get any girl. I can do these things for the attention of women and for my sexuality. Mm-hmm. And so that was something big that I think I had to kind of untrain myself, because that doesn't define and neither kind of help project where my success lies or who I can be in the future. It was just kind of a shallow way to validate myself or to give myself quick, short-term happiness that was, or sadness that was disguised as happiness. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, you go home and you're texting, entertaining a bunch of people because they want you. But beyond that, what is there? I'm still going to sleep alone. I'm still, you know, waking up like wanting and craving love, like all these things that deep down I could never admit to the world because, again, at that point, and from what I've learned, that was what some people would call weakness.
That's
for someone to be like, I want love. I'm a lover boy deep down. I want to give love to somebody. I want to start a family. I want to be passionate. I want to be a father. I want to be a girl dad. I want to be all these things. It's just, you know.
What was that modeled for you when you were growing up?
It wasn't really. I grew up in a split household. I had what some people would call a father who was very, very invested in his boys' sports careers. I was a college football player. I had aspirations to go to the NFL, so a lot of my investment, my dad's investment towards me was through accolades, through sports accolades. And so there was never really the check-ins that we had that was like, hey, how you doing? You know, what's up, man? How you doing emotionally? Like, what do you want to be when you get older? There was always, if you score a touchdown, I'll give you a video game kind of thing. Like, you know, that type of validation or just what I thought was love. And my dad loves me dearly. He'll to this day say that. But there was just ways that he
didn't know how to demonstrate to you.
Yes, how to demonstrate. But I also grew up with sisters. And to the outside eye, the Noble boys were the Noble boys because we were the athletes. And again, I come from a family. My older sister went to Duke, valedictorian. My younger sister, a year younger than me, went to Stanford, valedictorian. Pre-med, she's an anesthesiologist now. My youngest brother, who is 5 years younger than me, went to Penn, Wharton. So like just a family full of smart kids. I was black sheep. But my validation and my, I guess, prioritization as one of the kids was because of my sports. And as a child, my mom would pick me up. And my mom is a lover, like deep down, just has always craved love. And when you get in the car after school, Alicia Keys would be playing, Fallen. I'll never forget that. And just driving and singing our hearts out. And I just saw love, heard it in her voice, heard how she talked about it, and just things that were instilled in me as a kid that I just could see. And then as I grew up, you know, kind of being blind to that because I was given a lot of things as a kid because I was good at sports. So I think I saw how much love people, my siblings, and just people in this world need, but especially from a father to a daughter, I think that's one of the most sacred type of loves out there. And I know my sisters didn't get that to the way they probably should have. My dad will admit that. I saw it, and I think for me, it kind of just motivates me. And I know a lot of my friends will say, oh, my dad wasn't a great dad to me. That motivates me to be a better dad. But my dad was a good dad to me. But my dad was a great dad to our whole family. But there were some shortcomings on how he treated my sisters and showed them love.
Which in turn taught you how to treat
women.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's just, there's so many things you can go down that topic of discussion on with women's place in society and how it's always been underappreciated, always been watered down. But for me, it's one of those things where I'm ready to have a best friend that's a little mama, as well, I'll call her probably, those kind of things. And it's just, you know, I see it. I see my mom, I see my sisters, and how I look at women. And any person out there, it's just, I got nothing but love for everybody. So I think that's kind of, as I've gone through this healing journey, buzzword, I've really come to understand, you know, what makes me tick. And that's love. And that's admiration for people. And I think that's kind of just pours into, okay, I get to bring another generation of people in this world. I get to bring my kids into this world and teach them the exact same, you know, ways I view the world. Hopefully they grasp it and spread love, and it just multiplies.
Yeah.
I think what's great about you, one of the many things that are great about you, is that you, sort of model or exist through this kind of new framework of masculinity. That's sort of remodeling and reinventing masculinity and reimagining it. But it's not like you're being more feminine, right? Or that you're sort of watering down your masculinity in order to make it positive. It seems like you're leaning into your masculinity. I mean, you do cold plunges. You talk a lot about physical fitness, discipline. You have these videos where you're cleaning. And actually it's, again, we have this view of cleaning as something that's sort of feminine and trivial, but it's because a lot of women do it, but it's actually about self-discipline.
It's therapeutic
and
as well.
It's therapeutic and it's masculine. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think this idea of, you know, my masculine energy and, you know, understanding it and still trying to understand it, but more so the balance of masculine and feminine energy. Like my toenails are purple right now. I get my toenails painted from time to time. I was at an event the other day, and there was a makeup artist, and my girlfriend is a makeup influencer, beauty influencer, she's the best. And we were sitting there, and she was getting some of her makeup done, and the makeup artist looks at me and goes, "Do you want to try it?" I was like, "I've never worn makeup." I was like, "Sure, I don't care." Like, how does that define my sexuality? Right. It doesn't. For me, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
If I was only focused on my masculine energy, which I feel like a lot of my friends and people in this world are, it's crippling emotionally, it's damaging potentially mentally, and I think that's something that it's to understand that it's okay to clean your house for a full day, because I find therapy out of it.
But isn't that masculinity, right? Like,
yeah.
Keeping your place clean and taking care of yourself, those really conventional sort of masculine traits of self-discipline, right? Do you think that we need to talk about those things as masculine virtues?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, I think everything applies. It's genderless. In my opinion, a lot of these things that we try to draw a line through in the sand and say, this is masculine, this is feminine, is bullshit.
Okay.
I think it's fluid. I think there are a lot of things and traits that we can share within the energies between the two that I don't think needs a classification of this is masculine or this is feminine. I think it's just open.
Let me add to it, though, because I think one distinction, at least that I make, and I think many of us do, is masculine and feminine are not attributed to male or female.
Right.
We do it.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think we have to unlearn this idea that masculine then means male.
I'm still unlearning.
Feminine means female.
Yep.
When we see them as just being all qualities of humanity, then it's okay that I can tap into the feminine side of me. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I'm any less masculine. It's just different vitamins.
I think I'm still unlearning that.
We just have such married them to men and women.
Yes.
That we can't even have a discussion that something is masculine and something's feminine.
And beyond that, a woman will do the same thing as a man, but it will be viewed differently because of the gender of the person who's doing it, right? Like to me, providing is a perfect example. So when a man goes out and works, that's providing, and that's a masculine virtue. When a woman provides by staying in the home, she's staying in the home, right? It's viewed differently, but it's actually the same kind of action, but we value it differently. Does that make sense, right?
Does.
I actually think this is such a fun space to be in because we get to, again, reinvent, like cleaning. Like, is cleaning, really something that is, I don't know, subservient or domestic? Or is that about self-discipline and control and taking care of yourself and taking care of your family?
Yeah.
Is that providing?
Well, it depends on what the purpose, what the motivation is to clean.
Yeah.
Right? So cleaning is just an act. That's not feminine or masculine.
Right.
But if it's because I want to take care of someone, or is it that I'm posturing? Is it that because I want it to look like I have a lot of money? What's the reason? So the act is the act, right? But the intention behind it, I think, is what determines what emotion it's coming from.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in your journey.
Yeah.
Having the father that you had, which was wonderful and loved you, and as you had mentioned, but maybe didn't do some of the things that would have nurtured another side of you.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think the question you asked, which led to your response, was how you saw women, or were you seen as a womanizer? I'm curious how you now walk through the world and why you walk through the world, and how important it is, do you think, to demonstrate being a man as you are, being masculine in the ways you embrace it, but how important are these qualities to show up and to demonstrate to other boys? Is this better for society?
Absolutely. I think that idea for me is rooted in, those questions you get sometimes, like, oh, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago? Like, if you met the younger version of yourself, like, what would you, my answer is usually, I would give him a big hug. I would tell him it's okay. I would show him compassion. I would show him empathy. I would show him this foundation of support that could be considered, like how you said about the cleaning thing. If you're nurturing somebody, it's feminine. How it's okay to sit there and express yourself. How it's okay to be in touch with your emotions and feelings, because at the end of the day, the only person who has to answer to themselves and with their feelings is you. And for me at that point in my life, and I actually just came out and said this on social media the other week, so I don't mind sharing it here, but there were a lot of things 18, 19, 20-year-old Jalen was so desperate for, which I think from the childhood, which was this idea of that it's okay to be emotionally unaware, that it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to need that type of nurturing. I had my battles with mental health when I was 20, 19 years old, where it led me down a dark path, which this is my second chance at life.
What do you mean by that?
I successfully took my life.
Successfully or unsuccessfully?
I flatlined. Yeah.
Okay.
I was at military school. My dad went to military school. I was trying to, again, follow in his footsteps, do that and lead that path of, I want to be just like my dad. I want to be masculine. I want to do these things because it's what my dad did. And he's successful, so I have to do this. I didn't have a choice. And so I thought, so this whole compassion and to be able to spread to younger boys or to share this was the idea of me talking to a younger version of myself. This idea of, kind of healing a younger version of myself that needed to hear these things, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who play sports, who are trying to make it to a professional football league, who are trying to impress their fathers, who are craving their attention in other areas than just accolades, that there's so many things that from the pressures that society puts on us as young boys to be that man of the house, to create this successful career, that I was struggling and I decided to just call it quits. I knew I couldn't live with my dad's or not his standards, but I knew I couldn't be him. But he wasn't demanding that of me. I just thought, because that's what I was training myself to do, was to be him. And I don't need to be my father. I just need to be Jalen. And I think through this idea of this healing journey I'm on is understanding who I am and feeling these traumas and being whole that's my idea. My TikTok handle is always Jalen because I always have to be myself. And if I lose sight of that, then I'm not giving myself the life I deserve at this second chance that I have.
So were you feeling, and forgive me, I'm not going to ask you specifics about.
I'm open book. I don't mind sharing if we get into it. Yeah.
But when you got to the point where you felt like you wanted to call it quits, and you actually, I mean, you said successfully. I guess that's a little.
Oh yeah, I guess it's a little great. Like I'm still here, obviously, knocking on wood and breathing, and
you weren't able to successfully, permanently,
right? Yes.
do so, but you attempted to.
Yes.
Was that rooted in that you didn't feel enough?
Yeah.
Because you weren't able to follow the footsteps of your father?
Yeah. I would say that was a big part of it, sure.
Was there other stuff going on? Because the reason why, before you answer, there's a lot of us that fall short in things.
Yeah.
That don't think of calling it quits.
Yeah.
What was it with you?
Yeah.
That would then lead to calling it quits, not just being like, Dad, look, I'm not going to be you, or being upset for a year,
that was
or whatever.
That was a big part of it. I was also, dealing with a lot of emotional challenges with my love life, with, being at a military school where your freshman year at military schools, you can't leave. Like you have to stay there and just be in a gray room, essentially. I just gotten off a concussion from football. So there were a lot of variables that I was trying to juggle. And I just, for a few years at that point, I was kind of that idea of I wasn't present in my own life. And I felt like I wasn't the main character. I felt like I was just existing to fail. And that was probably the scariest feeling for myself. And I was like, I'm just letting everybody down around me, because at this military school I was at, I was starting on a D1 football team. And I had all this success that on paper seemed like enough. But at the end of every day, every night, I just would feel so heavy but empty. And I'd sit there and say that this isn't worth it. I would rather not be here. And again, this is someone who used to take very drastic, potentially drastic measures in a lot of ways that I handled responses emotionally, mentally. And this was
you already had a history of taking things hard.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think there was ways that I didn't understand my emotions. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to digest how I felt, think about it, talk about it, and then grow. I just would take things and take them way too hard. And I think the combination of all these things and just the way that life was going, I was lost. I was alone. I was afraid. I was terrified of my future. I was like, I'm going to fail out of this school because grades were okay, but concussion kept me back. And they're talking about, oh, you have to restart the semester because it's the whole bureaucracy or politics of military school is very interesting. And I just felt like I was failing. I couldn't see it, but I thought I would see it in my dad's face, in friends' face, and other people's faces around me, which again, it was my misinterpretation because I didn't know how to really have that conversations about feelings, emotions, and be okay with the idea that I can speak about these things and say that I'm confused, I'm hurt, I don't know what I'm doing, which is showing my self-compassion, which we can then attribute to being a feminine energy, that in this content, in this healing journey that I'm on for myself, but for others is because the younger version of myself desperately needed that. Desperately needed that.
So can I ask you, what do you think if you had a son
Mhm.
right now that was 10 years old?
Sure.
You said you got to this point, you were 19 or 20.
Yeah.
The fact that you were failing at something, I mean, we all fail at something.
Right.
I mean, we're all going to fail, and we're going to hit a rock, and we're going to hit a
Right.
wall, and some of us get knocked down. Some of us get right back up and
Sure.
keep chipping away.
Yeah.
The ones that decide it's better to be checked out
Mhm.
to call it quits versus not, I'm interested what got someone there versus the person that gets knocked down and gets back up. So what would you think you would do differently having your experience with your 10-year-old son to
Yep.
20 and arm him with
Yeah.
so that when he does fail, which
Mhm.
he will,
Absolutely.
that he never wants to check out?
I think I would spend a lot of my time just helping him build himself up to be able to fail, to understand that it's okay to fail, to understand that through life and through this stage of life, you're curious. Well, I'm still curious today. But I think at that young of an age, I was so curious about life. I used to draw. I used to take pictures. I used to be such an artistic person, but I never pursued it because I thought my only options were football, sports. But for me and that my future 10-year-old son, I think it's just showing him the support to be curious, that he's able to explore life, that he's able to try new things, that he's able to fail. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to really be open and vulnerable, and we're going to talk about our feelings and emotions. You go to football, you don't like it? Well, let's talk about it. I don't think after one practice you could be like, I hate it, I'm quitting. I think there are ways to understand those feelings, but I think to that 10-year-old future son, I think they just really need support to navigate through life and have that person to fall back on, that if times get rough or they feel like they're failing, that they can hug dad, that they can have a conversation with dad, that they can really understand that it's okay. And I think at so many young ages, you see so many boys, and myself particularly, trying so hard to impress their father, trying so hard to be a young dad, or like 10-year-old, I'm a big boy. I got it all figured out. I'm crying for girls. Those type of emotions and feelings that if I am with my 10-year-old son, it's going to be about love. It's going to be about compassion, but we're going to try a lot of things and navigate our way through life. And it's going to be up to you, because I think that's the beauty of human psychology and our mindsets and brains is we're able to be curious. We're able to want to learn more. We're able to want to be a sponge. But if you don't have the support system, the people in your life to kind of help support and let you be an individual, I think that's some of the important things that I want to instill in my son, is you are an individual. Whatever your name is, I don't know yet because I don't have my baby names picked out, but I am here to support your curiosity in life, because you are your own individual person. You're not me. You're not your mother. And for anyone out there who is an adopted parent, you're not them either. You're yourself. And the ways you view the world and the way you see the world is completely up for your own digestion. I think the importance of, for me, childhood is curiosity and allowing that to exist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you experienced that.
I used to be so afraid of it, because I used to look back at myself 10 years ago and be like, oh, he quit. That he's a quitter, but I would say it in a way that I would still think and feel it today like I'm still a quitter. But I think that's something that I had to realize through this healing journey, was the actions I took 10 years ago damn sure don't define me today. That is an older version of myself that I can heal from and have healed from, that will never define me. If I am scared to say that I did that 10 years ago, and someone to look at me and go, fuck him.
Yeah.
That's not who I am. Like, I'm not worried about the thoughts that someone has from other than my own. And if I can sit there and look back at 10 years ago and say, oh, he just needed a hug, he just needed help, but he didn't get it because it starts with me, but I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why you didn't ask for it, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Exactly.
that was something that allowed you to survive as a child.
Yeah.
And then you took it into your life as an adult, and that's what contributed to this breaking point. And there's, if anyone's out there listening, like, suicidal ideation is something that a lot of people are struggling with. I remember for me, it started even when I was like a kid. Like the first time I was like 14.
Yeah.
And it's very scary, but it's not a failure.
Yeah.
It's not that you are giving up. It's actually that you're giving in. Like that pain can be so tiring and intolerable, right? That is the only solution that you see at that point. But obviously, you're here. I'm so glad that you stayed. Thank you for staying.
Yeah.
And anyone who's listening, thank you for staying. There are so many people around you who, if you do decide to do this, will think about you and talk about you every single day for the rest of their lives, and they want you to stay too.
I think one of the things that I said in one of my previous posts, and I think I just came out to the world this like 2 weeks ago saying this. So like I'm fresh on allowing criticism, if I can call it that, or outside voices to know who Jalen was and who I am. But I think there's so much power for me in healing that, but also sharing it, because I think you're right. I think in what I'm trying to do in this healing journey is one, talk to a younger version of myself, but also give people the foundation and support that they might not have, that like, hey, it's okay. It really is.
Yeah.
You are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think so many people, and even myself, I couldn't understand that. There were so many days where I'd wake up in like a month-long stretch where I ultimately made that choice, where I would go to sleep going, I'm never going to figure it out.
Yeah.
This sucks. It was a weight on my chest, in my thoughts. I couldn't sleep. It was just, I was so defeated. And knowing where I'm at today, I would never have imagined this, but I had a purpose. And I think in my sharing this healing journey, it's not only for myself, like I said, for other people who, to your point, are out there who may be feeling that.
So many are.
So many are.
I feel like what I really, really believe, I'm a parent of 4 now.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
I'm one that has some similar experiences as yours, never to a point where I ever thought about checking out.
Sure.
That's not even it's not even a road for me. There's many paths to get somewhere, but that one is like, I don't know that path.
Okay.
But I've experienced with my mother, who has struggled or struggles with bipolar, and I've experienced firsthand what that looks like and takes and the effects of that. So I know it up close, but not personally. But what I do think for boys, and I think what you're speaking of a lot, is that you didn't feel enough, didn't have an opportunity to talk about this stuff. What your self-worth was, I think needs to be reframed for our young boys. I think a man's worth is, honestly, the truth is, how are you of service to others?
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
Now, how you are of service to others, it might be in sports because you assist other people to make a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's not about you getting the accolade. It's about to be a part of a team and to assist others. It might be so that you're in a marriage and you help assist that relationship. It might be that you work and that you help your coworkers. Whatever it is, that always. So my kids, everything they do, I'm always like, so do this and get better at it.
Right.
So that you can help others, so you can assist others, so you can be of service. Because no matter what the failure would never be about achieving a particular goal.
Right.
The failure would be, I'm never assisting another person.
Sure.
I'm not of service to others. And that is something, let's say when you got to be 19, 20, when you weren't able to follow in your father's footsteps in the way that you thought you might, or whatever else there'd been. But had your value been, how do I immediately help humanity progress?
Right.
I'm just feeling struggles here. I'm going to go talk to some people about their struggle, whatever it may be.
Sure.
I think if that's our worth as men, that how do we provide opportunities for growth to advance civilization, then that worth can always be drawn on versus not achieving a goal.
It's really funny you say that, because when I took these actions, the first place the military school sent me, because I'm part of the government, was a rehab facility. And I went for, I think, 10 days. And it was in New York. And I was surrounded by 9/11 firefighters, previous addicts or current addicts of anything. And then just some people who were much older, in much older stages in life than I was, that were really struggling, and putting myself and immersing myself in a group of people who were struggling. I will never forget this. It was this older gentleman, and I will always kick myself for not really getting his name or number down. But I remember when we had, like, everyone's kind of in their own little worlds over there, right? Like, you kind of just head down, like, I'm ashamed to be here kind of thing. And you're there, and there was this older gentleman who was a jazz player. He was around 60 years old. He had a slick back ponytail. It was a short ponytail. Wore a black t-shirt, black skinny jeans, probably like 5'10", 220, right? He was, looked like he was in good health. And everyone with the activities we did every day, like we slowly started to get closer, be able to talk, communicate to each other. This guy was on his own, just in his own world, really defeated. And to that helping others piece, I've always felt that my whole life. But in that setting, that's what I felt. And after this experience of me leaving and going back home, he wrote me a letter and stuck it in my bag before I left. I didn't really get to say goodbye to the guy. And it's always going to break my heart that I couldn't. But I read it, and he, in the letter, basically said that I saved his life because he has never felt compassion from anybody else. He's struggling. And one of the reasons he's in this place is because his family has disowned him. His kids don't. He's struggling in life outside of it. And he gets, dismissed everywhere he goes, struggling jazz musician, all these things. And I think that was something that really spoke to me, to your point of how can you help other people? And that feeling right there made me never look back and say, I'm taking that road ever again. I'm going to decide to call it quits. And I felt that. And he called me like a week later and was like, hey, Jalen, how's it going? I was like, man, what's up? And we just talked for 30 minutes. And he said, you've motivated me more than ever to get out of here and go make something, go try. And I want to say thank you. And that feeling of helping other people defined a mindset of, I'm never going down that path again, like I said. But instead, it might be a long journey, but I'm here to stay. Mm-hmm. And I think that's our shared definition of, to me, what can define my life is how can I help other people?
Sure.
And the point of this whole podcast, the point of my whole place with social media, with just sharing my story and giving people a voice, that's what I think, a major purpose of mine in life is to do just that.
And you never know who you're helping and who you're touching. If you hadn't had that, if he, hadn't put that letter in your backpack, you would have never known.
My motto in life is you never know the light you can be in someone's darkness, even your own.
Yeah.
And I think about that every day I wake up.
And in turn, you end up helping yourself by helping.
Yeah.
Focusing on
I see somebody,
reach,
they get eye contact, they get a smile, walking past somebody, they get a hello, they get just recognition.
And you didn't do anything, right? I think it's important when, people, and honestly, particularly men who have suicidal ideation, it often is tied to feeling like a burden to their families if they're not providing, a burden to their families because they're, have addictions or whatever it is, right? And you didn't do anything for him.
Right.
You just were.
Yeah.
Right? Just being is
Isn't there beauty in that?
Serving others, right? That you don't have to, it doesn't have to come with a job or with a particular accomplishment or like this big thing that you do. Just being, right, is in itself worth living for.
Absolutely.
Just being.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm curious how, I'm guessing you've had a conversation with your dad.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you haven't told him?
No, I think there were a lot of conversations years later that I had to have. I think for the first few years I was battling the awkward relationship that my father and I had because a lot of our relationship or conversation was rooted in how was football practice? How was this? How was that? And I think when I went this way, my dad's first reaction, and I'll never forget this, was I woke up in the hospital, kind of in and out. And I woke up and the first person I saw was my mom. And it was this crazy realization or just presence was she was looking over me because I was out for hours, looking over me, and around her head was like the hospital light, and it made this like halo around her. And that's my angel on earth. I always say that to the dad, my mother is. And when we got back up to the room, my dad dropped everything he was doing at that moment to run to his son. I'll never forget that because I know my dad loves me. I know he really does. But I think years later, I look back at that and go, okay, well, I used to hold it against him for so long as a kid or 19, 20, 21 that my dad only loved me because of football. Mm-hmm. But that was never the case. I just had to tell him. I had to talk to him, say I was hurting, say I needed help. But my dad loves me so big. And it took years for me to kind of get out of my own way and over this hump, that this imaginary wall that I put there was my own misunderstanding of his view towards me and myself. But years later, we had some tough conversations. I think through therapy and really getting to the bottom of it, I'd call him sometimes, like, hey, I need to talk. He'd drop everything. Okay. Let's talk, son. And I'd cry. And they were the most beautiful tears I've ever felt in my life because it was a release. It was pent up emotion that I could let go of through like human expression. And I'm a big believer in the human anatomy of every human needs to experience emotions in some way, shape, or form. Not often, but in a decent amount of time. People need to cry. I think for me, and talking to my dad at that point, years later, it was just that understanding of being able to express to him what I felt. And my dad will say he regrets not having those tough conversations with me when I was struggling, trying to jump through hoops to follow in his footsteps. Because I didn't share that, so how could he have known? But he always kind of kicks himself and says, I wish I would have really took the time to, ask you tougher questions, because I wouldn't have been able to never guess. You seem so happy on the outside. So that's how, again, I think that's how most people come across who end up taking those actions. You can never tell until you ask up the conversation.
What were the questions you wish he had asked you?
What do you want to do? How can I be your support system if your choices in life aren't this? What do you need from me? And if he would ask me that at that age, I would have lost it. I think I would have broke down wherever I took that call or conversation. But I struggled for a few years after that, really kind of trying to validate myself as a man in this world, still trying to battle this idea that I'm a man a 21-year-old, 22-year-old man in this world that has come off of an unsuccessful suicide attempt, who is trying to figure himself out going to community college compared to all the rest of my siblings who were top 25 schools in the country. Just like these things that I was really battling with myself every single day still, that, again, this idea of a man, am I enough? Or am I man enough? That was a theme of the first 5 years of my 20s, just really trying to figure that out. And I never really had those tough conversations with myself. If I asked myself something that was related to, feminine energy, my first round was like, oh, I can't do that. I would think at that time, oh, I'm not feminine, I'm not gay. That was usually my first reaction as a insecure, unaware male that, again, a lot in life with my sexuality, with emotions, it was usually like that wall I'd put up, that instant, I'm not going down that road. I'll go get with other women and fill this well with this cup, trying to fill it. I wasn't going anywhere. I was just going to dry up by the time I needed more, and I'd still be empty. That's what I felt every single day. But again, I've been fortunate that I have a nice smile, I guess, right? And that's what I kind of used to mask a lot of struggles I had.
Yeah.
And validation, again, am I man enough in what on paper a man would be defined as man enough is how many women have you slept with? How many women want your attention? It was like this idea of being a womanizer, to our points earlier, that I used to put a Band-Aid over a cut that needed surgery. And it was never going to work. Yeah. So I think that would I guess to your question about conversation with my dad was, or what I wish he would ask me was some of those things.
Yeah.
Just really understand.
Which are simple questions when you think about it,
they're
right?
so simple.
What do you want?
Yeah.
It's for parents who are listening, or even, again, friends, helping someone not escape this route, but save themselves. It's just about checking in.
Which is why I think it's so important that I like hearing you talk about you and your father.
Yeah.
I have an amazing, amazing father who's shown me love and has shown up in my life my entire life.
Right.
I never saw him bleed.
Me either.
Never saw my dad bleed.
If you mind asking, is your father black?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he's kind and loving and so feminine in terms of how he operates and how he treats people and what's purposeful. But I never saw his stumbles. So for boys to see their own father stumble and then talk to them about it, so that then we feel the freedom to say I'm stumbling, or what they know then that's what we need. Otherwise we stumble, we feel short, and we're like, oh shit, I'm not as good as my dad.
Yep.
My dad never stumbled. He never bled ever.
Stoic. Yeah.
He, I don't mean he was not vulnerable.
Oh, sure.
But I mean,
Did you ever see your dad cry?
A few times, only a few times.
I think when my grandpa died, that was a time where I saw my father cry. And then the movie John Q, Denzel Washington.
Right.
Greatest movie ever. I cry on the movie. I saw my father cry then too. But I think to that stumble piece, and I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine, because I used to hold it against my dad. I said, why couldn't he be more open? Why couldn't he? But empathy kicks in when my curiosity allows me to kind of really help understand Black men's role in this world, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, when my dad was growing up in South Georgia, a place where sundown towns.
Yeah.
My grandma, she would call them to see where they are, not because she was just like, what time are you getting home? Because she always had to check to make sure that there was something going on, right? I mean, that was a time, and my dad grew up in the same town that Martin Luther King was jailed in, Albany, Georgia. And I look back at it and go, okay, well, this is someone who, as a boy, to this whole conversation, was taught that Black men couldn't show emotion.
Right.
Black men couldn't show chinks in their armor. Black men had to be stoic to even have an opportunity in this life.
Yeah.
Survive.
And to survive, and to think how that can be taught throughout the course of his life until he had kids, really taught me and helped me understand that it's not my dad's fault. I think a lot of things, and I call them opportunities, not problems, opportunities in life are always pointed back to the steps that I take to initiate. And I think to this whole conversation, questions I wish my dad would ask me, or to this way I viewed my father, like he would have never known the struggles I was going through, because I came across as this happy kid, this kid full of life. But I was hurting. And again, his idea of how he was raised was to be stoic.
Right.
And I think that's when you take all this into consideration, the variables to the relationship between myself and him emotionally, I completely understand. And I give him all the empathy in the world that it was never his fault.
Right.
He was an incredible father to me my whole life, and still is, and is a better father today. But it was up to me at that point, and when I needed to ask for help and have these conversations, again, I was a kid, so it's difficult to be able to have that. But to learn that at a young age through the way that I think we're talking about at this table is part of the change that society needs, a part of the change that boys in this world, or just kids in this world, need to understand that, instead of all the things on, the quick short burst on TikTok or on Instagram of all this power, this idea of success, of this is what validates you as a person, hey, it's okay I struggled. I don't have a great day every day, but that's okay. I can talk about it, and that makes me more powerful to be able to be aware of my feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big reason of this push of mine recently in my life is, I'm gonna have kids, and I can't wait to be a dad like you. I hope to be, a good father, but I think that's also part of trial and tribulations with just existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious how this has impacted your current relationship with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is she, worried about you, or
No.
how do you discuss these?
How long have you guys been together?
6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So still relatively new, but
She knows about your history and past?
Yes. Yeah. I told her, I think, on our third date. So she was living in Philadelphia, or right outside of Philadelphia in South Jersey. I was in Nashville. And this life as a content creator has afforded me some flexibility to kind of, on a whim, go travel somewhere for a weekend to pursue people. And not that I've acted on it, but this opportunity I found was kind of at the height of my understanding. Okay, I'm healing. I'm feeling a lot better about my love life, because that's a whole different conversation. But I think the first time I saw her, I knew that this person could be everything for me and more. I don't need anybody at this point in my life, but it's an addition. I feel like I've been working on myself for a long time, and I feel like at this point my cup is full. I'm able to meet people truly and really pursue love because I've given myself enough love. And when I met her the first time, I say, I know if I can not get in my own way and be always Jalen, this is my person. And within the second or third, time we hung out, we were getting into deep conversations about our upbringing, split households, our fathers, our relationships, all of it. And I just felt this huge, compelling rush over me to say, hey, look, and look on the eye. It kind of sounded like, I need to tell you something, because we're moving really fast in a beautiful way. And I want to be honest and open with you and just help you understand where I come from, because I talk about my mental health. I talk about the therapy I go through. I talk about my emotions. I really communicate and put that first. But if you really want to know me, this is something I went through when I was 20. And this is what impacted to the conversation point, my relationship with my father.
Yeah.
And she was so understanding and so loving and caring and compassionate. And I always feared that if I told people that, they'd look at me sideways and be like, oh, that guy's going to off the wagon 10 years later still. But there was none of that. It was just true love for another human.
Right.
And that's what I felt. So yes, I've had these conversations with her, and it's never once impacted positively or negatively the projection or pace we've been moving at.
Yeah. And what's the last thing that you guys fought about? What are you working through as a man in your relationship with her?
I think my pride, my ego, I think can sometimes be a little convoluted or confusing for me. Where
How does it show up? Yeah.
Through lack of communication. I think no response is a response. I've really come to understand that. But I think when some things come up and I don't understand them or don't like it, sometimes I'll be in my own world thinking about things. And again, I think previously these are what I would call self-sabotaging habits, where I'd think of all these different ideas or these different impossible things that actually aren't happening.
That explain her behavior,
Yes.
and you're like what's an example? She wouldn't respond, and then you start saying, "Oh, she doesn't really."
I think there were some times, like in the beginning of the relationship, where I was insecure about we were together for a few days, and it was great, but maybe she didn't respond to me for a whole day, and I was like, did I do something? I'd be a little more harsh on myself, and I'd okay, well now my ego and pride is a little bruised because, well, what did I do? Okay, am I the problem, or is she looking elsewhere? Is she not really so just all these questions that I would start to ask myself that again were not true at all.
Sure.
That I think really helped me understand that the death of my ego was a major reason that I have become to find love with this person the way we have. And so when we get we don't have arguments, we have conversations with solutions and an end goal. I don't think that if she has a problem, if I have a problem, they're pretty minor, I'd say, across the board. But again, communication is very important to me.
Is this the one?
Yeah. Yes.
You gonna spend your life with this girl?
Yes. Yeah.
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 She know that?
Yes. Yeah.
Was there a moment, or was it like a build?
It was
was there like a click?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think the buildup was one of the most beautiful things. But when you look at somebody and it's like, that's my person.
Yeah.
I think I would call her my soulmate, but I don't think you meet a soulmate off the first day. I think this buildup is where you earn a soulmate.
Yeah, you build
yes.
one.
And now I look at her and there's some points where it just click with me, and I sit there and look in her eyes and go, my God, I love this person. I mean, I'm beaming talking about it.
So let me ask you a question. So she knows you about your history.
Yep.
We're attracted to women. When we're attracted to you, you've had your experience where that was one of the things that fulfilled you.
Yeah.
So you have to work for the rest of your life to be faithful. To show up, to not be distracted, because there will be a time, right, that she won't fulfill you in every single way.
Sure,
because she's not designed to do that.
Oh yeah.
And then where do we go?
Sure.
I have a history of this.
Okay,
but I have a history of never being faithful ever in my life. Maybe there was one time, like my first wife, I've married 3 times. First wife, I was 18, and
third time's a charm.
But all the relationships in between, including my second marriage, where I blew it up because of being unfaithful and hurt, big fires everywhere, and had to rebuild my life. And when I have a similar story, when my wife, now we're celebrating 10 years.
Congratulations.
Next month.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Thank you. Within a week, I mean, it was really like our first time really talking.
Yeah.
I laid it out to her.
Oh yeah.
All right, here's my history. Here's my history. I blew up my second marriage because of being unfaithful. I did this, and this, and this. I was molested for 10 years of my life, so I've got a lot of trauma.
Sure.
Blah, 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 all the stuff. Here I am.
Yep.
Now, you want to go on a date? Because that's
kind of what my thought was.
I want to just tell you straight up who I am. Also, part of that is I want to be straight up, but also I need something to be accountable to, so that I'm working at it all the time, that I don't take it for granted. Because when you have a history and you've tasted something before, you don't just forget that.
Sure.
It's like, being a cigarette smoker for 20 years. You quit, you always smell that. You'd be like, it's a moment away, right? So I'm just offering you this, which you probably know.
Yeah.
But if this is the one you want,
and
this is the one that it is, don't get complacent.
Oh no.
That means you got to work every day. All these things you're putting on TikTok and all the wonderful things you're doing, and I'm sure you're doing them behind the scenes too, and not just in public. But that's got to be a daily diligence.
Absolutely.
Weekly diligence.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point, and probably a fault of mine in previous relationships where you start dating somebody and you're in this dating phase, and then you start dating them and it kind of falls off a little bit. It kind of dwindles out, the dating. In this relationship I'm in now, I date her every day. I date her every single day. Every time we talk, I'm dating her. I love her, and she knows this, and I know that we're going to have a long life together. but I'm dating this person every day. Because I feel like in previous relationships where I would then see shiny objects outside of the relationship I was in, because I stopped giving the person in the relationship what they deserved of being pursued. I don't need to go chase you every day, but I'm going to date you every day.
Well, yeah. What does that look like? What does that mean?
I have a flower on my hoodie because I'm known as flower boy. I send her flowers all the time. Goes to London, was traveling from Italy to Nashville to Hawaii to London, and just burnt out. And I found out which hotel she was staying at. I sent her flowers to her room. So when she walked in on her last little leg, there were flowers waiting there with a nice letter, note, all these little things that can make the smallest difference in her day and her, morning messages every single day. I wake up butt crack of dawn every day. She sleeps in a little longer than I do. And I'm going to be the first person to say something. I'm going to send her a voice note with, what I got going on that day, how I'm thinking about her, just everything. Because I need to set an intention for the day that you're going to get my love from the second I wake up.
Wow.
Yeah. Second I go to bed, we might have a disagreement maybe one point in that day, but by the end of the night, I'm going to always choose you. And you're going to know that. And every morning I wake up, I'm going to always choose you. And that is the consistency and the dating ideology that I have of I have to date this person every day. Because the second I stop dating this person, that's when distractions come in. That's when, okay, what do I do with this time that I used to have that I would give to this person? Now it's like, okay, well, I'm scrolling like, oh, I can see a shiny object. Let me go like in a rabbit hole and be tempted elsewhere outside of this relationship. And I think this is the first relationship where I have not felt that once.
Good. Yeah, I feel like relationships are like, we have this idea that when you get married or when you're in a long term, you feel like you own it.
Yeah.
Like this relationship is mine.
Yeah.
So you don't got to take care of it in the same way. But if you don't own your house and you are renting it month to month and you want to stay there for the rest of your life and there's a landlord that you're accountable to, you're going to make sure it's clean. You're going to make sure when they come and do inspections every month, it looks great. But as soon as you think, oh, I own it, now you don't got to like upkeep it the same. So I try to remind myself of that with my wife. Like I'm renting the relationship with the intention of living here for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that I show up and treat it as such versus thinking, that's mine, I'll just get to it when I get to it.
I think love is the most beautiful thing in this world. Love for self, love for others. And I think that I've had this goal as a kid since, I was driving around with my mom, listening to Alicia Keys and just hearing this love and hearing everything I need to really understand what I want to be when I'm older with a family, with a wife, with kids. And when I look in my partner's eyes, I see that. I see my future. I'll share this because it comes full circle in this whole, 10 years ago, the actions I decided to take. When I woke up and I was in my hospital room, I remember I had a vivid dream from the time I came from the ER to up to my room to kind of to detox, that I walked out of my house. And it was like a house in like a neighborhood, and there was a car in the driveway. It was like the front door, you kind of walk around like this, and there's a driver right here. And I'm like walking out the door to like go greet somebody. And around the side of that car comes the most beautiful little girl in the world. Biggest afro, curly hair there ever was. And she's yelling daddy and runs right into my arms. And I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. And whenever I've been on job interviews and it was like, what fuels you? I tell them that. So my future daughter that I don't have yet, but I will.
Wow.
So, and then when I met this person, my partner now, I see that little girl. When I look in her eyes, when I'm with her, when I see where I want to take this, I see that vision or that yearning I had for my purpose or of love and, what life is now that I'm here. I see that in her eyes. And that is literally all the motivation I ever need. To give this person love that I think people deserve, to have their heart warmed every day and just supported and nurtured to my feminine side. That little girl is alive and well. And I can see that. I can feel it. When I hug her, I feel all of it. Yeah.
Damn, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's like romanticizing your future.
Yeah.
Right? Often we romanticize the past, or we're right, and that's again where a lot of depression and that kind of dark thinking can come to.
Right.
But using those are just thoughts.
Yeah.
And you can change a thought.
Yeah.
And why not, instead of romanticizing the past, romanticize the future that you want to build.
So long as you don't get stuck in that, because if it doesn't turn out that way, then you're not depressed that it didn't turn out how you romanticized.
100%.
So it's like be detached.
Yeah.
while having goals.
So do you think cheating means something different to men and women? Like, I feel like every freaking quarter there's the most amazing, beautiful, fantastic, extraordinary, smart actress or female public figure that gets like cheated on. And I think as women we go, what? Like, so even if we are the perfect, right? They still, but then I think, does cheating mean the same thing to men than it does to women? And are women assigning what it means to them when men do it?
That's a great question. I think it just depends on how the man is structured to view their own relationship. If a man looks at the relationship as ownership, which I think a lot of men in relationships feel that they have the right to say that, or feel that they have ownership in the relationship, I think it's a lot easier for them to then cheat and to not feel as much remorse for it. I think in this specific scenario, it really does depend.
What does ownership look like? What does that mean?
I can go out, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, but you have to tell me everything you're doing. Like kind of just the scale
unequal.
It's unequal. That's the one I'm looking for. Unequal.
Power dynamic.
Yeah, unequal respect for each other.
That's
a big one.
Interesting.
If the woman is just living her life, or the other partner, just the other person is living their life and doing everything they can to be faithful, but there are some things that may make this other person feel insecure. Like that person may think they have ownership over that person because what? I think that's a big thing that a theme that I've seen between men and women, or just I would say insecure man. But that dynamic, I think that's where cheating or infidelity looks different or feels different, because that's just a terrible way to look at relationships. If I own something, I misuse it. If I own something, I may not value it as much.
Right.
But if I rent it.
Can I answer that question also?
Yeah, please do.
I do think we process it differently.
Yeah.
As one who has been unfaithful,
Uh-huh.
when I was married to my son's mom, I fucking love her and adore her. She's one of the best people to ever be on the planet. I still love her, adore her. She's still one of my best friends. She's very close. My unfaithfulness was not due to not loving her.
Right.
It was about me, all my stuff, all my baggage and damage and all the stuff and choices. And as you spoke to about value and conquering and things of that nature. I think men in general are raised with the idea about consumption, about the more people that see you and like you and see you as powerful, the more valuable you are. I'm not saying women don't experience this as much, but men are like the pressure of at least in our mind, being the one that you can rely on to take care of you. And a lot of that is misinformed being desired. When my son lies to me, there are some parents that take it personally. How could you lie to me? It's never about me. He's trying to figure out, he's scared, he's this, who doesn't know what the consequences are, whatever it is. Is it because my son doesn't love me that he's lying to me? Of course it's not. So it's really important to remember, this is not personal when they're going through this stuff and then they lie and they hide and they cheat and they steal this and that. It's not about me, even though I'm the one they're supposed to be accountable to and honor. I don't take it personally. If my wife cheats on me, of course it hurts. Of course I feel like because you made a commitment not to. But the fact that you did doesn't necessarily mean that you don't love me, especially for a guy. We know statistically, guys, the amount that we watch porn compared to women is drastically different.
Sure.
So we can just be stimulated by sex and have an act. You see men go to massage parlors and do all these kind of things way at a higher clip than what women do.
Sure.
So just sex already, we have a relationship with it. That's just
different.
So of course, you can love someone you're with and have sex with someone over here. It's terrible and it's wrong and it's absolutely going to be destroy your life and it's destructive to commitment and all that. So I'm not condoning this in any way. But you can have a relationship that you're unattached to, that seems to give you power, make you feel desired or makes you roar through all the men I've talked to in my life. And yet you can still love it's a weird dynamic. That experiences in a woman who takes it personally, I understand. But unfortunately, I wish I could say it's not about you. You could be the most beautiful, perfect, wonderful, brilliant woman in the world, Liz. And a man that cheats on you does not mean that you're not wonderful, brilliant, and perfect, and brilliant, and all that.
Right.
It means he's got something else.
I think there's this funny post that I see on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and it's between it's like usually a man or a guy saying this, and it's like, get out of a relationship, man, goes and has sex with 10, 15 women, and then it's like the video is like them talking to their ex, and they're like, proud bird chested, like, oh yeah, I had sex with a bunch of people, and the girl's like, I went on a date, and it just shows like the man like crumbling and like crying and just a puddle on the floor.
Oh, because when she cheated,
because she went on a date.
Oh,
versus,
she went, right.
Yeah, like it's just this weird, I think, idea that I think men and women or our partners can view cheating very differently. But that's after a relationship. That's after they've broken up. But even within one, like I do think we see it differently. I have this weird idea of like the day we live in now. To your point, all the shiny objects that we see, that someone can see as a man, woman on the internet, because you scroll on TikTok, you'll see, after scrolling for like an hour, you'll see a few thirst traps. You'll see a few like, women that could potentially catch your eye if you're not strong-minded enough to not dive into it.
And the algorithms play into it. Have you seen a difference between a guy and a woman's TikTok algorithm?
If you stop for half a second, it's going to automatically, like it tracks all that. So it can just continuously feed your pages. For me, my idea of dating in today's society is a lot of people are dating the internet. A lot of people are in a relationship with the internet because what do you get in a relationship? Validation, praise, sexual responses, like this idea of dopamine. If I am a man or woman or a person, a human that is not in a relationship with another singular person, I can post a selfie and get a lot of likes on it and feel that dopamine rush of, okay, there's my praise I needed. A lot of the same attributes that some people get in a relationship, they feel it from the internet and their presence on it. So a lot of people, and it's a consideration that I have to, and people have to take in today's world is that person ready for a real relationship? Is that person dating anybody, or are they dating the internet? Just different things of how the psychology of people exist in today's world, with social media being a huge part of our lives, that a lot of people, and I was guilty of this, like this whole bad boy thing with Love Island and, the growth I've had, like I've always had the access, like a lot of people in this world, to post a selfie, to post a shirtless pic and get a lot of love and a lot of messages and like pursue quick little type of like instant gratification relationships where it's like, hey, we'll text for a whole night and be enthralled with each other and get into like this exchange of quick like love or lust, and then I'm over it. Okay, quit. I'm done. Next person, next shiny object. A lot of people are okay with that at this point in their life.
Not just okay, but that's a much easier relationship to be in because I'm controlling how you view me.
You don't have to respond
it's
to anybody.
curated. I'm an
can be as
anime
selfish
character.
as you want.
Yes, and I can present whatever qualities I want, the ideal self that I, want.
Being selfish should never exist and be in the same sentence as love. And I think that's when you think of these, to your point, it's a much easier way to, at the end of the night, not to respond to anybody, not have to be responsible to anybody but yourself. Yeah. In some ways, that could lead to a like thought process of this is selfish, and and people are okay with that. That's fine if you want to be selfish, but I don't believe that you can truly experience love between two people for a long-term perspective with selfishness being part of that equation.
Yeah, and no growth.
No growth.
That's why you got to work at it all the time. I mean, being now married 10 years and the relationships that have been together 30 years are the ones that work. Daily practice. A commitment every single day to be loyal. A commitment every single day to be compassionate. And to listen and to be understanding and to clean and to do the laundry and to help with the kids. Every single day, all of those things are a choice. You have to be diligent because our lower nature, it's easy for it to take over. We have all the voices that are
easy to be selfish,
to fall into that trap, and it happens to good people. Even the best people that you look have been married 25, 30 years, have a great one. If they're not diligent in how they treat this plant and water it properly with the right fertilizer all the time, I don't care how great the plant is, eventually it starts to wilt. You have to fertilize it and water it properly. And I'm 10 years in, and I'm doing great.
Yes, you are.
And I take that for granted, and that plant starts to wilt.
Absolutely. One model that I have like in love too is consideration is the highest form of love. I think that's something that I consider, if I'm getting a new rug, if I'm getting a new, sheets in my place because I share a space with somebody now, I consider what that person would think of those things. I think that consideration is just a way that I can continue to express my love even when I'm not with that person or communicating with that person. It's like I'm going to be busy for the next 3 days. Like, let me consider how I can be a better partner even through distance. Let me consider how I can take their opinion or how it could impact them into everything I do. Obviously, whatever I'm going to make for breakfast this morning when it's just me, I don't have to have consideration in that moment. But if I'm ordering food for myself and my partner, then consideration is absolutely important.
Yeah.
It just on the small scale to large things, but it's it's interesting. Love has been a very, very eye-opening experience for me to really experience it for what it is without getting my own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
What is it, Jalen, what does it mean for you to be man enough?
I think being man enough is subjective to my own view of what a man is, my subjective view on who I am. And I think to be man enough in this world is to just be myself. I think being myself is the greatest power that I can possess with this idea of being man enough, this feminine and masculine energy that we intertwine and haven't had in conversation. But to be man enough is to be myself, to be aware, to be powerful, to be responsible for my own actions, to be spreading and showing love to people. So to be myself is to be man enough. To be Jalen is to be man enough. To be you is man enough. I think the way that I try to be aware of, is this an outside influence of what the definition of a man is, or is this my definition of a man? Because from our conversation today, it's my definition of man is probably drastically different than what a lot of other people would consider to be a man. But it's my opinion because it's my life. Like that's all I have to be responsible for is what I consider to be a man. And Jalen is man. I know that. And if I'm always myself, I'm always aware and always giving myself the love I need and the responsibility it takes to be myself, then I'm man enough. Yeah.
I think actually most people don't think that much differently than what you think being man enough is. I think it's 10%, but that 10% is so loud and so big that it puts us on opposite ends of the earth. But really, we probably get a bunch of men who think that there's brute strength, burly men that do this and hunt and kill all their stuff and never talk to their wife and children with a kind tone. And you say the other side of the spectrum, and I bet you put them in the same room, and most things are similar.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's that 10-20%.
I think it's that same idea of living for yourself versus living for other people.
Right.
I'm the main character in my own life. Yeah. Obviously, when I have a partner and family, I have to consider other people and live for myself to support other people. But I think a lot of times people live for other people's definition of a man, a success,
or what they think other people want. It's not even really
so I think
often.
that's part of within that definition of being myself.
Yeah.
But we got to be better so that Liz herself, when you find that partner that you are going to unfreeze your eggs for, well, not you're going to do it for them, but that you want to do it with them. We need a man that's gone through, or a woman. I know that you're open to either one that can love you. And
we're open.
Right.
We're taking submissions.
But from the man's perspective, we need to be better so we can show up for you because you're everything wonderful.
And show up for everyone and each other. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Dude, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We really appreciate you.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Us.
Very
I say on behalf of Justin likes to say, if he were listening, he would indeed say that you are, in his eyes, man enough.
Oh, thank you, Justin.
With that, you want to take us out, Liz?
I sure can. If you like what you heard, come and search for more. Watch us on YouTube.
Where will they watch us?
On YouTube.
Oh, I see.
You can also listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
That's right.
It's free. You can just listen to any episode. We've been doing this for a while now.
That's right.
And you can go back in old ones and share them with your friends. We love when you stop us on the street and you tell us that an episode, helped you with your dad or with a partner. We really, really appreciate you sharing this show with more people in this community.
We will see you next week. I'm Jamie Heath.
I'm Liz Plank.
Who are you?
I'm Jalen Noble.
Sir. And this is
Man Enough.